In this video, we're going to take a look at multi-body duplication techniques and things you should look out for when you try to do a duplication tool like a pattern or a mirror. So here I have the multi-body duplication file from our working files directory. And it's essentially very similar to a box we've seen before, but I turned off the visibility of a few solids, solid 3 and solid 7, because we're going to see what it would be if we decide to mirror those in the design criteria instead of going through and creating them manually like we had done in previous videos. So if I go up to my pattern tools, I can see I have rectangular, circular, and mirror. In this case, I'd like to do a mirror interaction. And the features I'd like to grab, well, I don't want to grab features. I don't want to have to go through and try to find which extrusions and chamfers and fillets made up my solid. Instead, I'm going to choose to mirror a solid. Now, my cursor will change over to solid selection, and I'll grab this one and this one. I got two of them there. Now, the mirror plane that I would like to go across will be my origin plane, and that will be my YZ. Now, I inadvertently picked the mirror plane option on the interior of that face, so I actually missed the other solid. When you choose the solid here, it automatically skips to keep going through the command. If I go back and try to select solid again, you see how it deselects it. You can only mirror one solid at a time. So we're going to do this top piece first. And up here in the upper right is another set of important tools. Do I want to join this to the original solid that's over there? Well, that would make absolutely zero sense. I want to create another new solid over there instead, because this does have to be a separate part. I'll choose OK, and that one gets mirrored over. I'll do another mirror, again solid body, with that body there, and the mirror plane will be my YZ again, as a new solid. Now really, is it a new solid, or should this one be a join? Well, again, don't confuse the identical nature of a part with whether or not you should join it. This particular part here really could be an occurrence 2 or quantity 2 inside of the assembly. So do I really need to mirror this, or could I just use occurrence 2 when I get to the assembly and put it together in there? In this particular case, because it's identical, I actually do not want to mirror it here. I don't want to create another erroneous IPT part file. Now, you may want to do this if at some point in the future you feel like that will be a different part. But for now, I'm going to cancel that. Now, you're also going to notice that it did not take the color override when I did the initial mirror. That's okay, we can color override that later. The next thing to look at here in regards to duplication tools is when we have a modification tool, how does that duplicate? So I have that groove cut that's on the inside of this box, and that groove cut is going through 4 separate solid bodies. If I go up here to my rectangular pattern command, and this same scenario would work for circular as well, so really it's the same thing. If I try to grab my features, namely that extruded cut, which I just grabbed, if I tell it to pattern and attach it to a solid, it only allows me to pick one solid at a time, just like the mirror command. In order for me to properly duplicate this cut, which goes through 4 solid bodies, I'd have to do this rectangular pattern 4 times. So that's the limitation in what the pattern tool can do. So how do I get around this? Well, how about I go back to that feature and see if I can do a sketch pattern? I'm usually not a big proponent of sketch patterns, but in this particular case, it's not a bad idea. Here I'll find sketch 4 and I'll activate it. And I'll start my rectangular sketch pattern, selecting this geometry and my directional reference, and I will space this by 50. I'll choose OK and finish the sketch. Now I'll go back into the extrusion that I had for that, and I will also tell it to grab the additional profile that I had just created in that sketch. So now my cut is correctly duplicated down without having to go through a tedious usage of the rectangular feature pattern command.